Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pendulum Friday here at Soulprint. Thank you so very much for being here. I truly, truly appreciate it. So I have finally hit 12,000 subscribers. Yay me! So as you know, this isn't about being big. It's about being what you need to hear, etc. So breaking news on Thursday is that apparently Trump has been diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency. I don't even know if I pronounced that right. So what it basically is he's experiencing leg swelling, though physicians say he's in excellent health. They said they did a comprehensive exam, and well, you know what? Okay. The bruising they're saying is not unusual when you are on a regular aspirin therapy. Just saying. And the ankle swelling is, in case I said it wrong, is what occurs when damaged valves inside the veins struggle to keep blood flowing from the legs back to the heart. She said this is a common condition over people over 70 and people over 70. And according to the Cleveland Clinic, 1 in 20 people over 70 are going to be impacted by this. There is no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. No signs of heart failure. Renal impairment or systemic illnesses were identified. So there you go, people. You have a really healthy president. All right, here we go. There's tons of questions today. And the first one, I'm actually really kind of thrilled that this question came up because it allows me to sort of go back to something I said a really long time ago. So the first question is this. Is Trump the modern day Rasputin? Rasputin was a Russian peasant and mystic born around 1869. And he had a great deal of influence over the Romanov family. Way back when other readers had, and I'm not saying they're wrong and I'm right, I'm just saying when other people were fixated on other historic people, I was bouncing around saying, I'm telling ya, Trump is the reincarnation, not of Rasputin, but of Nicholas, who was the king of he was from the Romanov family. I should have refreshed my own brain about this. If I'm not mistaken, he was king in Russia. And he was part of, if I'm not mistaken, Queen Victoria with her many, many, many children. He was part of that tree. Rasputin he became very, very sexualized, right? He was all about orgies and sexual experimentation. This is in like the 1860s, okay? So this is like, you wouldn't think common. But at the time, I was saying, no, Rasputin is Epstein. Trump was, I'm sure it was King Nicholas. Sorry, I had to look at it, but it was making me crazy. Okay. Nicholas II was the last reigning emperor of Russia. He was known as Nicholas II. He was the former emperor of Russia. He was sort of referred to, I think, as a czar. He was the last reigning emperor of Russia, king of Congress Poland, and the Grand Duke of Finland. So that's who he is. And I said at the time, because one of the things that this Nicholas guy was known for was not having a like strategic thought in his head when it came to dealing with his armies. He didn't have a knowledge or an understanding. Um, and this is the guy whose family was like all like slaughtered. Um, so I sorry, how is Queen Elizabeth? Queen Elizabeth is it's convoluted. I'm not going there. All right. But anyways, that's the answer. I will double check, but I was pretty honestly clear when I was saying it. Let's see. Is thank you, Pendulum. It always tells me I'm jumping ahead, right? Here we go. Is Trump a modern day Rasputin? Okay, I'm going to answer that another way. I'm going to ask the question another way. Is Trump the reincarnation, or did Trump have a past life as Rasputin? No. Jeffrey Epstein, did he experience a past life as Rasputin? Yes. Is Trump the reincarnation of the Tsar Nicholas of Russia? That's a yes. Now I know there are other lives, and honestly, it from what I can figure out, man, he's just doing a crappy job with every single one of them. But that's just my, my humble opinion. Is Jeffrey Epstein is the Jeffrey Epstein syndicate still in operation? No, kind of makes sense, right? Is China's president Xi Jinping in danger of being removed from office? That's a yes. Will certain people in the Trump administration, such as Stephen Miller, be held legally responsible for human right abuses with regards to the many illegal actions taken by ICE and Homeland Security? Yes. Will Noam still be in office 3 years from now? Okay, so as you can see, it's moving back and forth, but it's a very small yes, so it feels a little bit like maybe, maybe not. Is Donald Trump and his regime working to destroy America? This is what I'm being told. No. They are wanting to make America into their version of what America should be, which is, white, Christian, and affluent. Right? So they want to have the haves than the have-nots, right? And they want way more have-nots than haves. So the word destroy is what's throwing me off here. So I want to see if I can come up with something brilliant. Is Trump and his regime working to create a different different America than is currently the situation? Yes. And is the Supreme Court aiding him in this movement? Mm-hmm. Well, why? Because you have a majority of people who are Republicans, and some of them are really, really right of center Republicans. Does Donald Trump actually believe that tariffs will help the economy? Oh, yeah, Morris opinion. I think I mentioned this earlier this week in the video I did on him. He really, really does believe it. And he only listens to people who support what he believes. I went on a bit of a rant about this. I think it was on Monday's video, Wednesday's video. Nope, Mondays. I went on a bit of a rant because I was like, you know what? There's not a huge issue with the whole, made in America, etc. Great, do it. The problem is that he thinks that he can snap his fingers and a manufacturing plant is just going to, I don't know, spring up out of the grass. So sure, you want to manufacture widgets, okay? How long is it going to take to get the plant up and running? How long is it going to take to get the company sorted out? How long is it going to take to hire employees and train employees, etc.? He doesn't think about any of that. It's just, I want stuff to be made here, and so that's how it's going to be. That's the problem, is he truly believes that he can really save the economy by forcing. It's not really the tariffs. It's like forcing American manufacturers or forcing other countries who manufacture certain things to create plants in America and employ Americans. The problem is the way he has handled this. First of all, there was that whole American, Canadian, Mexican trade agreement that was done the last time he was in office. But what he's doing is just blatantly illegal. But he truly believes that it will help the economy. Does he realize or recognize that he is destroying the American economy? No. Yeah, he really does. And I mean, I saw that little blurb he did, a little press thing. Oh, if you didn't see this, oh my God, he had this meeting in the Oval, and a reporter asked him, about what happened, that the whole Epstein thing went from this huge big deal and all this information was going to get released to a nothing burger. There's nothing there. Stop looking at it. Stop asking me questions about it. And he literally said within moments of that, and the economy is better than it's ever been. So a little disconnected. But the reason why his statement was so interesting was because he blamed the confusion on Biden and probably back as far as Obama, right? I mean, because they were just making stuff up to make, certain people look bad. And unfortunately, some very foolish and stupid Republicans fell for it, fell for the hoax. Sure, that's a really great way to win people to your side. Let's insult your voters and call them stupid. Is a congressional questioning into Joe Biden's mental condition and fitness while he was president. It is his F-45's attempt to get revenge against Biden. Yes. Because there's been so much made, or was so much made, about Trump's unfitness. And so now he has to return the favor. Had the Epstein files been destroyed by someone other than the DOJ? Okay, let's break it down. Have the Epstein files been destroyed? It's a pretty strong no. Is there any department or organization who has access to those files other than the DOJ? Okay, that's a yes. Whoever that is, are they going to destroy the files? To know. And I've said before that they're hanging on to the files. They would be absolutely foolish to destroy them because they believe that they can use what's in there as leverage. Whether that's against affluent Republicans who don't want to associate with Trump, or whether that's Republican politicians or 45 himself, right? Did Bill Barr have something to do with Epstein's quote unquote suicide? Okay, I'm getting a small no. The next question is, do Bill Barr and Trump know about Epstein's death? Do they know what actually happened? Yes. And Jeffrey Epstein on this press thing went from being this great buddy of Trump's to a clearly sick and disturbed individual. It's amazing we're not all suffering from whiplash. Just listening to this guy. Is Ghislaine Maxwell in grave danger? So she has offered to testify to Congress. Is she in danger? No answer right now. Will she be allowed to testify under this administration? No. Will Trump have some kind of health event due to the Epstein files? Okay, that's a yes. Not being given any additional information on what kind of health episode, but what they're saying is that is on the list of distractions. So it's literally like they have a list of things that can be done and said to create a distraction from the Epstein files. The problem is, and they're going down the list and trying to tick it off. The problem is, it is their own Republicans who are furious that this thing hasn't been released and are a little cranky about it not being made public. Okay. Is Clarence Thomas on the list? I got to rephrase this. Is it possible that Clarence Thomas may appear on the alleged Epstein files? Does his name come up? No. Which is kind of suspicious when you think about his history. Is Jerome Powell still on, is he on this alleged list? No. Okay. Did 45 use the Miss Teen American pageant to funnel talent to Epstein? That is a really, really good question. Let's see if the pendulum wants to answer that one. Okay, so I'm getting a yes. What I'm hearing, the expanded version of that is, by and large, the kinds of young girls that were recruited were young girls who were in a struggle. Okay, whether it was a financial struggle or there was problems at home, or they were like, I'm sorry, but like ripe for the picking, right, for a predator. Well, there was an attempt or there was some minor funneling. By and large, by the time you get to the Miss America pageant, you have a pretty significant support system in place. So it's not like you go to the pageant and then, go sleep under a bridge because you're homeless, right? So it feels more like it was something that they rarely used, but it was out there, it was possible. It's that kind of energy. Is our food supply safe? No. Because all of the people who are supposed to be ensuring its safety got fired. And then the next part of that is, what about bird flu? So I'm going to ask it this way. Is bird flu going to continue to play a significant role in chicken/egg production and availability? Yes. Sorry. Will the free speech of the media survive? So yes. Will our Constitution survive? That would be the U.S. Constitution. That's a yes. Will the U.S. be able to retake its respect in the world? He doesn't want to answer that, or there is no answer right now. What I can tell you is that what they're saying is, the longer 45 is in office, the more the United States is sort of made a laughing stock unfortunately, and people's opinion of them is taking a real hit. The problem is, it's even the next federal election when you bring in a Democrat and you have Democrats all over the place and they're running the board. Nobody is going to be quick to jump on board because there's no guarantee that 2 years after that, Republicans are going to break the House and Senate, or that 2 years after that, another right-wing Republican end up in the Oval. So the problem is what's that expression? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And that's sort of where you're at. I also saw something that was very interesting. The other G7, the other people in the G7, of which the United States is a part of, which he left early when it was in Kananaskis, Alberta, a few weeks ago, where there may or may not have been an incident with his behavior towards one of the other G7 country leaders. Anyways, I saw this thing the other day. So all the other G7 countries, there was a poll about, do you trust 45? And it ranged, if I'm not mistaken, from, I think it was 67%, at a high of 81%. Those are your closest allies. And not one of them is even giving him a 50-50 chance to do what he's supposed to do and do it right. So, yeah, you know what? I mean, I think it's going to take a couple of election cycles. Is it sort of safe to assume? Yeah, probably, 4, 8, 16, 20 election cycles, 16 to 20. It can start to recover. But in order for that to happen truly, this extreme right wing, this extreme white Christianity, this extreme, we're just going to do what we want, and who the hell do you think you are, allies? That's all going to have to be healed. And it's not going to be healed simply by a new president stepping into the office. When Joe Biden stepped in, there was a general feeling of, we escaped that, thank God. And all the other countries were like, great, welcome back, good to see you on board, let's sign this, let's do that. But when Trump was reelected, it really did create a reluctance, I guess. Okay. Oh, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging on to the end. This was sort of longer than they usually are, but that's because I had to do the thing about, Rasputin, and then I had to do the thing, but anyways. It is the weekend. It's Friday. Do something nice for yourself and somebody else over the course of this weekend. Enjoy the sun. I hope you have the sun where you are. Until next time, take care and be well. Bye for now.